Alright, so TLDR, if you don't want to watch the whole video, here's what you need to know. Coronavirus is bullshit, you're being manipulated by the media, and the only people dying of fucking coronavirus are boomers. Do you want me to prove it? Here we go. Okay, so let's look at this chart first. This is the case fatality rate of coronavirus versus the US seasonal flu. And this is worldwide cases versus the seasonal flu. So I want you to notice, first of all, the seasonal flu, very low fatality rates. Mostly old people, but it's still under 1%. You don't give a shit about the flu, do you? Did you even get a flu shot this year? Probably not. Even if they're free. Most people don't even get a flu shot because they know if they get the flu, they're not going to die. They might have a bad time, but they're not going to die. And in fact, getting the flu shot might make you a little sick. Not from the flu, but, it lowers your immune system as you're building up antibodies for the flu. It's often not worth it. If you get the flu, you get the flu. Unless you're 80, you're fine. You're not going to die of the flu. Now let's compare this to coronavirus. You can see that the fatality rates jump up, but it's overwhelmingly old people. Now in this chart, it's 60 plus. But if you look at it, it's mostly 80-year-olds. When 80-year-olds die of something, it's called natural causes. You have to die of something. It's either going to be heart disease, cancer, the flu, something. Now, I just want to point out the infections versus deaths. So, every year in the United States, just the United States, there are 9 to 45 million infections of influenza. 9 to 45 million every year. There are 140 to 810,000 hospitalizations, and there are 12 to 61,000 deaths. Now that's an estimate. This year, in 2020, as of this year, 22,000 people in the United States have died of the flu, and no one cared. 22,000 people, overwhelmingly old people, are dead, and no one cares. Did you get a flu shot? No, you didn't. Did you know 22,000 people died of the flu? No, you didn't, but do you care? Are you going to get a flu shot now because 22,000 old people died? No, you're not. All right, let's look at coronavirus. We have globally 179,829 infections and a little over 7,000 deaths. Overwhelmingly old people. Now, comparing coronavirus to the flu, you're like, well, TFM. You have 0.06% for 50 to 64 and 1.3% for 50 to 60, that's pretty significant. That's pretty significant, TFM. I think this panic might be justified when the coronavirus is between 6 to 14 times worse than influenza. So let's bring in one more data point. Let's look at swine flu. Let's throw that into the mix, and let's see if we come up with an interesting side-by-side comparison. So H1N1, in case you don't remember, was swine flu in 2009. It infected 762,630,000 people, and it killed 284,500 people. Now, if you look at the fatality rate by age, you see that it had a fatality rate of less than 1% for all ages, 0.5 for ages 5 to 24, 1.03 to 25 to 49, 1.69 between 50 to 64, and 0.97 to 65 plus. But here is where things get interesting. I want you to look away from the boomers. I know it's hard to not look at the boomers. They're so cuddly. But try to avoid the boomers. I want you to look at every other age group, not the boomers. So from 5 to 24, we have a slightly higher fatality rate in H1N1 than coronavirus. It's 0.1 and it's 0.5 for H1N1. For 25 to 49, it's 1.03 for H1N1. It's 0.3 for coronavirus. And for 50 to 64, H1N1 was 1.69 and it was 1.3 for coronavirus. H1N1, aside from the boomers, was more deadly to the average person than coronavirus. H1N1 was a worse pandemic for most people than the coronavirus. H1N1 was a worse disease for the average person than coronavirus. So here's a chart. This is from just statistics. This is the resident population of the United States by sex and age as of July 1st, 2018. So here we can see basically the population of the United States broken up by age and sex. You can see that the senior population is significant, but they're not the average. The average American, the biggest cohort of Americans, is 25 to 29. So what you have is you have an oversampling of boomers to bring up the fatality rate. So the fact that this is disproportionately affecting boomers shouldn't bother you, because the average person in the United States is not a boomer. The boomers are a small portion of the whole population. Now, another interesting point is, let's look at Italy versus South Korea. So here is the population and coronavirus cases in Italy by age group. And you can see the blue bars represent the general population. As you can see, just like our last chart, the older people are a small percentage of the population compared to the younger people. As you get like 20 to 29 to 50 to 59, that's the most people. And then 60 plus, it starts to slope down. But then you see the infections and cases disproportionately infecting older people. They're two completely different charts. You see the seniors being overrepresented relative to the general population. In Italy, the fatality rate is 7%. I wonder why. Could it be that it's all old people? Yes, because if you look at South Korea, here's the South Korean cases. You see the same general trend with 40 to 60-year-olds being the biggest cohort, and you see it trailing off 60 plus. And yet what you see is a proportional amount of infections relative to the population, with 20 to 29-year-olds making up the majority of cases. And in South Korea, the fatality rate is 1%, because they're not oversampling the old people who are disproportionately going to die of disease anyway. So in Korea, the fatality rate is 1% because most of the people being tested are working age people. In Italy, the fatality rate is 7% because they're sampling old people, because old people are the ones being affected. But unless you are 60 years old, coronavirus is less of an issue than H1N1. H1N1 is more deadly to non-boomers than coronavirus. Now let's look at the panic. Namely, I want to look at the stock market in 2009, which is when H1N1 hit. So if you look at a timeline of H1N1, the first human infection of influenza H1N1 was detected in California April 15th, 2009. And we're going to start at April 15th, 2009. So let's look at the Dow Jones, April 15th, 2009. 2009 was a great year for stocks. We were coming right out of the housing collapse. There was no crash. There was no panic. Do you remember runs on toilet paper and hand sanitizer and face masks? Me neither. There was no fucking panic. People were concerned. People, I guess may have bought toilet paper and hand sanitizer. I don't remember. But it wasn't like today. This is retarded. This is so fucking retarded. And the people buying all the toilet paper and the face mask and the hand sanitizer are not boomers. They're like young people freaking the fuck out when they are in less danger than they were 10 years ago during H1N1, when no one cared. There was no panic. There was no state of emergency called until months later. Look, whether it's influenza, H1N1, or coronavirus, wash your hands and take necessary precautions, especially if you have pre-existing conditions or you're old. Period. Okay, barring that, what the fuck is going on? Everything is shutting down, everyone's flipping out, there's no toilet paper, there's no hand sanitizer. Not only is there no hand sanitizer, aloe vera gel and rubbing alcohol are sold out too, because those are the ingredients in hand sanitizer. It's ridiculous. And these are young people who have almost no chance of dying from this disease, even if they get it. It's ridiculous. All to save the boomers who are bankrupting our country. Fuck the boomers. But whatever, I guess boomers are our greatest strength. So we all need to crash the economy, cancel everything, because boomers are dying. Oh no, not the boomers. Whatever will we do without the boomers? Anyway, I'm done talking about this. I know I'm right. All the data proves I'm right. You'll all figure it out eventually. And you'll be like, oh yeah, that was a big fucking nothing burger. Almost no one died. And the people who did die were all fucking boomers and no one gives a shit. Why the fuck did we flip our shit so much? Exactly. But by that point, we probably already moved on to the next manufactured crisis. Ask yourself who's benefiting from the panic and why. It's an election year. A Republican is president, and the media are giant fucking communists. It all adds up if you just open your eyes, but whatever. Yes, go ahead and fucking, stock up on that toilet paper. Yeah, go ahead and get all the toilet paper. Anyway, I'm done with this. This is Turd Flinging Monkey. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.